Breaking news. This is America Bulletin. Right now, the Strait of Hormuz, the world's most critical energy choke point, is effectively closed. Iran has done what analysts said was almost impossible, and the consequences are just beginning to hit the entire world. What happens to your gas prices, your economy, and your daily life if this closure continues? Tonight, we break it all down. Stay with us. First, why does this tiny strip of water matter so much? The Strait of Hormuz is located between Iran and Oman. At its narrowest point, it is just 21 miles wide, with only a 2-mile shipping lane in each direction. Yet through this narrow passage flows approximately 20% of the world's entire oil supply. That's about 20 million barrels every single day. Additionally, 22% of global liquefied natural gas, or LNG, also passes through this waterway. Experts call it the world's single most important energy choke point, and right now, Iran controls it. On February 28, 2026, the United States and Israel launched coordinated strikes on Iran, killing Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei. Within hours, Iran's Revolutionary Guard Corps broadcast a warning to every vessel in the region. The Strait of Hormuz is closed. Any ship attempting to pass will be set ablaze. And critically, Iran didn't even need a full naval blockade to stop traffic. All Iran had to do was launch several drone strikes near the strait. Insurance companies immediately canceled war risk coverage. Without insurance, no shipping company would send their ships through. Traffic dropped by 70% almost overnight, and by March 2nd, it went to nearly zero. The human and economic damage is already severe. At least 5 tankers have been damaged by Iranian drone strikes. 2 crew members have been killed. Over 150 ships are stranded and anchored in open Gulf waters, unable to move forward or go back. Major shipping giants, Maersk, Hapag-Lloyd, MSC, and CMA-CGM, have all suspended operations through the strait. Qatar, the world's largest LNG producer, halted production entirely after Iranian drones hit its facilities at Ras Laffan Industrial City. Iraq has been forced to shut down some of its largest oil fields because with nowhere to export the oil, storage is overflowing. Let's talk about what this means for oil prices and your wallet. Since the conflict started, global oil prices have already shot up more than 10%. Brent crude is now trading near $80 per barrel, but analysts warn this is just the beginning. If the strait stays closed, prices could cross $100 per barrel. Kevin Book of Clearview Energy Partners put it bluntly, when analysts have looked at the things that could go wrong in global oil markets, this is about as wrong as things could go at any single point of failure. And Ali Vaez of the International Crisis Group warned, prices wouldn't just spike, they would gap violently upward on fear alone. The shock would reverberate far beyond energy markets, fueling inflation and pushing fragile economies toward recession. So which countries will suffer the most? Asia takes the biggest hit. China, India, Japan, and South Korea account for nearly 70% of all crude oil flowing through Hormuz. Their factories, transport networks, and power grids depend on this oil. Pakistan, Bangladesh, and India face the most acute LNG shortage. Qatar and UAE supply 99% of Pakistan's LNG imports, 72% of Bangladesh's, and 53% of India's. Europe faces a gas crisis. 30% of Europe's jet fuel comes through the Strait of Hormuz. European natural gas prices have already jumped 24%, and even the United States, despite being energy independent, is not immune. Oil is traded globally. Higher global prices mean higher prices at American gas stations too. The Dow Jones already dropped over 1,000 points. Here's what most people don't understand about this crisis. Iran didn't need to physically block every ship. It just needed to make the insurance impossible. War risk insurance has been completely canceled for Gulf vessels. Without insurance, no port will accept ships. No bank will finance the voyage. No crew will board. As marine war insurance expert Monroe Anderson explained, the market is facing what is essentially a de facto closure of the Strait of Hormuz, based primarily around perception of threat rather than a tangible blockade. In response, President Trump announced the U.S. Navy will begin escorting tankers through the strait. and the U.S. government will provide political risk insurance to all shipping lines. But experts question, will that be enough? The chaos has now spread far beyond the strait itself. Major shipping companies have rerouted all vessels around the Cape of Good Hope, the southern tip of Africa. This adds weeks to transit times and massively increases shipping costs. The Suez Canal has also been disrupted. Houthi forces in Yemen have resumed attacks on commercial ships in the Red Sea, forcing even more rerouting. Dubai's Jebel Ali port, one of the world's busiest transshipment hubs, temporarily suspended operations after missile debris sparked a fire. Supply chains that took decades to build are now breaking apart in a matter of days. The big question, can the United States military force the strait open? The U.S. Navy has a powerful presence in the region. It has 4 minesweepers in the Persian Gulf, trained specifically to deal with underwater hazards. Analysts say the U.S. has far superior military power to neutralize Iran's ability to close the strait completely. As one energy analyst said, the U.S. and Israel would just take that out very, very quickly. But the real problem isn't military, it's perception. Even with U.S. Navy escorts, shipping companies and insurers won't return until they are completely confident the route is safe. And that confidence, once lost, takes a long time to rebuild. Analysts from Goldman Sachs and Barclays warn if the strait remains restricted for weeks, the world could be facing the biggest energy crisis since the 1970s oil embargo. OPEC has agreed to boost oil output to stabilize markets, but key member nations are themselves caught in the fallout. Saudi Arabia increased crude loadings before the crisis, and strategic petroleum reserves held by major nations can provide some temporary relief. But the longer this lasts, the more fragile the global economy becomes. Every week the strait stays closed adds another shock to a world already struggling with inflation and economic uncertainty. The Strait of Hormuz is 21 miles wide, but its impact on your life, your gas prices, your groceries, your economy, is felt around the entire planet. Iran has achieved something no country has ever done before, shutting down the world's most critical energy artery with nothing but cheap drones and fear. America Bulletin will keep you updated as this historic crisis unfolds. Subscribe now and hit the bell icon because this story is far from over. This is America Bulletin. Stay informed, stay ahead.